One, two, three, four, five, Big Gun, keep my favorite.
What's up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big John and G, the two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming.
The Ultimate Games title, Unbroken, is my number 5 favorite game played in 2021. This one-player game is a resource management game that is beautifully disguised as a dungeon delve game of survival and escape. The concept behind this game is that you are the sole survivor, barely surviving sole survivor of what was almost a TPK. And now you just want to get out of this dungeon and back home. But in order to do so, you have to battle your way out, and you have nothing. Weapons, no food, nothing to start with. You have to find the resources and dig and claw your way, so to speak, out of this dungeon alive. And on each level back up, you have to face a boss before you leave. The game has this sense of almost near hopelessness at times, and yet it is constantly giving you something here, something there, to build up that hope inside of you. This one-player game is definitely something that you are going to find hitting your table again and again. This is the kind of game that makes you wonder why you would delve into a dungeon in the first place. It has an interesting mix of characters, and there has been the rumor of an expansion to this game which will allow multiplayers, maybe more than just you barely survived, and now together you have to work on your resources. I sure hope we get to see that someday. But this game has made my number 5 spot because it keeps hitting my table and it keeps delivering a great sense of an adventure. 4. Sentient Cow Games and their title of Secret Unknown Stuff, Escape from Dulce, makes my number 4 spot. This game can play 1 to 4 players, and it is a miniature board game, an escape dungeon delve style game that is skinned magnificently as a modern-day UFO encrypted extravaganza event. This game is just wild enough and tongue-in-cheek enough to laugh at itself while also giving you a serious amount of fun in this. I call it a reverse dungeon delve, although it's not a reverse dungeon delve, it's just an upward bound little delve, and your escape to attempt to leave. This game incorporates so much, not only from UFOs, but also from cryptozoology. The game has Sasquatch and Goat Boy. This game has talking space monkeys, a family infused together into one being, a 2-headed psychic cow, Amelia Earhart. This is a fantastically fun game that tells a story while you're playing it. And this is only the first part of the story, while there are 2 other planned big box expansions. Smaller expansions have already come out, and each one of them delves deeply into the stories of one of your potential allies, such as Mothman or Goat Boy. This game takes itself seriously enough just to know that it's not that serious. But still, it is going to be a really great adventure for you to go on. 3. Fallen Dominion Studios. Their title, Fallen Land, a post-apocalyptic board game, is my number 3 pick for my personal favorite games played in 2021. This tabletop adventure of apocalyptic proportions finds you, the player, in charge of a city. You are the mayor of one of the surviving 10 towns that has survived through a multitude of different style apocalypses that all have hit the earth. And you get to send out a team. Yes, you are controlling a team of adventurers, up to five adventurers that are going to go out from your city and explore the surrounding world. They're going to try to get resources. They're going to go on missions. They are going to recruit, and they are going to find equipment. They are going to build up your society for you. And during this time, the other players are doing the same thing. Whether you wish to have peace treaties with them, trade agreements, or all-out war with the other players is completely up to you. And there's no rule in the rulebook that says any one player at the table has to tell the truth to any other player. That any player has to keep their end of the bargain. None of that is in the rules. It's all up to the players. Which means that at times this game can delve into a chaotic civil war. And there's nothing wrong with that. With high-powered mercenaries and bordering on alien technology that can be found throughout this game, this is going to deliver a little bit of everything in your adventure on this tabletop apocalyptic world. Ravensburger comes in with the number 2 spot for their title, Horrified. This game has quickly grabbed my attention. It has definitely sunk its fangs deep into my neck. This game is essentially reliving any and all of the Universal horror movies to such a degree that it is itself becoming the plot of its own movie. Well, almost anyway. It should. But this does encapsulate the feel of the Universal movies, of horror movies and the monsters that they portrayed on the silver screen absolutely beautifully. This cooperative game will have you hunting down Dracula, the Wolfman, Frankenstein's monster and the Bride, the Invisible Man, the creature from the Black Lagoon. These creatures will come at your town 2, 3, 4 at a time. The more monsters, the harder the difficulty. This is also the only board game I know that incorporate Abbott and Costello into the game, because they were part of the Universal monster movie world thanks to Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. You're going to find references to all of the Universal monster movies in this game in these decks. And I personally can't wait for an expansion to this particular title. There is a standalone for American monsters, which incorporate Sasquatch and Mothman and other cryptids into it. But the Horrified game, the base one of the Universal monsters, is an absolute joy to play. Fantasy Flight Games comes in with the number 1 slot for me for my favorite games played in 2021. And that title, if you haven't guessed, is Marvel Champions, the card game. I literally cannot get enough of this. It's become my favorite superhero board game tabletop adventure yet. I am waiting to see how it stands against the new Sentinels in the multiverse, but I still have about a month or so, I'm guessing, at this point before I get my hands on it with the other backers. Marvel Champions, the card game, is a beautiful rendition of the comic book history of Marvel Comics. It makes you feel like you are directly involved, directly part of that comic book story. You are never going to be let down for a feeling of being part of Stan Lee's personal world whenever you play Marvel Champions, the card game. And the game is constantly growing. There are constantly new hero packs coming out, adventure scenarios with new villains, and large big box expansions that I really think you have to get if you have the core game. This game is going to give you hours, I think, of personal fun, making you feel like you are living inside the Marvel Universe. Those are my top 5 games, my 5 favorite games that I have personally played in 2021. What are your favorite games that you've played this past year?